Yush. What is going on, beautiful people, and welcome to the greatest combat sports and culture show in the entire universe, the Fight Podcast. I am your host, VICENTE, and we have an amazing show for you guys today, man. Before we go ahead and jump into it, let's go ahead and get on today's menu. On today's episode, we're going to talk about so many different things, but we have to talk about, look, man, we have elections, we've had, so much boxing, and as you guys know what today is our Fight Roundtable. And joining me on today's episode, man, is the man, the myth, the legend, the guru, Camm, man. So I got Camm joining me on the show today. We're also going to talk about, obviously, a little bit on Joe Biden to getting this young dub. We're going to talk about Devin Haney retaining his WBC light heavyweight belt, but did he impress? We'll talk about that. Also, we'll talk about how Devin Haney pretty much stacks up against, like we said, the 4 or 5 horsemen, whatever those top guys are, at between 130 and 140 and in boxing right now. We'll also talk about Canelo. He's a free agent, man. He's not with Golden Boy or DAZN anymore, so that's crazy. We'll discuss that. We'll give a little preview to Terrence Crawford and Brook. We'll talk about MMA'S GOAT and so much more, man. But like I said before, on this episode, I'm so lucky to have on the guru himself. Let's bring the man on the show, Camm. Brother, welcome to the Fight Podcast.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me, bro. Always happy to be here. Tons to talk about.
Man, so
Trump is out of office.
Bro,
and it's a good day.
It is a good day, man. Like I said, I said it on episode. We had our morning coffee and fight news this morning, but I said it's like, man, I woke up feeling a little lighter this morning, man. I woke up, I feel good. My mind, it's a visible, it's a legit weight vest was taken off. It's crazy.
And we knew what was coming, but it was just the waiting. And Saturday when they called it, like you said, that weight vest lifted. And I knew, like I said, we probably knew it from the second day what was coming, but just it still felt like anything until I saw a call, I needed it to be called before anything else.
I needed it. Yeah, absolutely. Until it was called, man, I wasn't getting overly happy, Obviously, my lady and I discuss politics a lot, and so we're talking about it, and it's just like, look, man, I think you hit it on the head. After the second day, I think mathematically you looked at it and was like, there's no way. And I legitimately look at it, and I believe that if we think about it, if we really break it down, the media and the motherfuckers knew by Thursday too. We know it. They knew about Thursday. Yo, my boy Smitty, what up though? I'm glad my guys paying attention to the show today, man. What's up?
I think they knew by Wednesday. I kind of knew by Wednesday. So Tuesday night, I went to sleep and was like, dang, shit. But and I guess for the people who follow politics closely, that's what they expected. I didn't know the voting process with the mail-in votes, how those were going to be counted later in a lot of swing states. I was just doing election coverage. So I went to sleep Wednesday night, woke up Tuesday morning, heard about everything that they were saying. And I guess woke up Wednesday morning, heard about everything they were saying. And I felt good. And I felt better and better throughout the week, but I needed them to call it. And they called it on the perfect day. It was beautiful on Saturday in DC.
Waking up Saturday morning, I got 6 a.m. I get a phone call from my mom waking me up. Papi, oh my God. He won. I'm like, what? Bobby, mira, wake up. He won. I'm like, who won? She's like, Biden. I'm like, oh, hell yeah, bro. Look, I needed that. I honestly, I wasn't even cheering too hard, but it felt like my mom woke me up for Christmas and Santa Claus was there. That's what it was. That's what it felt like. And this weekend felt like a holiday.
It's a song that's going off in New York right now. It's called Whoopty. And the chorus goes, you know what I'm talking about? So the chorus goes, whoopty, bitch, I'm outside. It's a movie. And that's what it felt like. Trump lost. Niggas were outside.
Bro.
I was just in my complex, and my homegirl shows up to my complex. She's like, yo, Camm, I'm down here right now. It's a whole party going on. First of all, I'm like, COVID, but I go downstairs and just COVID. Niggas pulled a whole party together, DJ and all, just on some Trump lost shit. Trump lost. DJ come through
party.
Through a whole party. No reason.
I felt great. If I didn't believe in COVID like half the country. I would have been out there kicking it, but there's still COVID. So I was inside getting my boogie on with my lady. I enjoyed it though. Look, man, I'm happy. It is what it is. Donald Trump out here, boo-hooing and throwing up fake fits. Dog. Hey, so look, I understand that this is a fight show. And I understand that in the fight combat sports fandom, there is a lot of right wingers, let's just say. So for all the right wingers that I don't know how many of y'all listen to this show. I mean, if you do, I appreciate you, whatever. But if you do, fam, is this your king? Is this the guy? Is it like here's the thing? Like he is supposed to be this aura of masculinity and tough guyness, but all he does is bitch and cry. Like that's not he's a sucker, man. And it's crazy to continue seeing this, and the fact that they still hold him up like he is this intellectually physical specimen man, pure alpha male. Fam, you're a beta at best.
So I feel like a lot of Republicans came out against him. Like they're not happy with him not conceding. They're definitely not happy with him saying stop the count because it's just against democracy. So I mean,
wait, real quick. I felt like a lot of goofballs out there, half of them over there talking about, yo, stop the count, and the other side of the country, keep it counting. Like, what are you guys doing? And like, at least have the same message. Just that in itself should show, and just be like, look, man, that validates everything. These people are obviously lying. They can't even get the same story. That's the definition of a lie.
If I'm saying, like, just concede, because he's just allowing us to watch a slow, painful death for you and all your supporters. You can put them people out their misery, but you want to keep it going. You want to go to court, take your L's there, just take L's over and over and over. Fraud in the states you lost, no fraud in the states you won. Seriously. Fuck out of here.
Man, it is crazy, man. But look, it is what it is. Here's the thing. Even though we had so much losing and a loser this past week in Donald Trump, there were some winners too, okay? Look, I'm going to say this real quick before we move on to fights. In terms of Joe Biden, I think we all know I'm progressive as fuck. I'm not a fan of Joe Biden in terms of policies, but I am ecstatic that he is in office. I think that the fact of the matter is that he has some redeeming qualities. The fact that he has Kamala Harris there as well, and if you look at her voting record over the last 5 years since she was a prosecutor, she has been growing and growing into becoming more of a progressive, which I've seen the trends. I could respect that, so I appreciate those things. And I'm gonna say this: I'm happy that he's there, and I'm happy that she's there. But I think we need to not relax. And I think what we need to do as a community is make sure that we're still keeping their feet to the fire to make sure that we do not go back to status quo. They called him Status Quo Joe. I am not about that life. I'm not about going back to status quo. We need to continue moving forward. Us as progressives, us as Democrats, us as Americans need to make certain that we're staying on top of our elected officials. And if they're not doing their job, we need to get them the fuck out. That shit actually fucking matters. And I'm just happy to see that our country did that shit. And real quick, to the 70 plus million individuals that voted for Donald Trump, you can kiss my ass.
Ooh. That's just that.
It is what it is, man. Anything you want to say about Biden before we move forward?
Nah, congrats to Biden. Congrats to Kamala for getting up in there, getting Trump out of there.
Man,
HBCU
grad.
Oh yeah, that HBCU love is strong.
You know what I'm saying? She young Soro. We appreciate her.
But even myself, I need to do better keeping up with politics, keeping up with local politics, and holding them accountable to the things that they say that they're going to do. That being said, happy as fuck for Trump to be out of office. Excited to see what Joe Biden and Kamala are going to bring to the table. So, yeah, here's to the future.
Here is to the future. He wins.
You late with the tag.
All right.
Let it go at that point.
I had a thing. All right. Well, let's go. Let's move on to the next one, man. We have some good shit to talk about today, man. Let's talk about Devin Haney. Devin Haney, someone whom, and I'm going to say this. I think you're going to be surprised on what I have to say about Devin Haney because I think everyone who watches this show regularly, Brandon, you and I speak often about this. I am a huge fan of Devin Haney. Huge fan of Devin Haney. I think he has all the skills to pay the bills, and he went out there and got a unanimous decision victory. He retained his WBC lightweight title by defeating Yuriorkis Gamboa in a 12-round
the
main event.
The WBC lightweight title that Teofimo also has a piece of.
Also has a piece of.
Nobody knows what's really happening.
Absolutely, and that's the crazy thing
belts.
about it. One of the belts. He has one of the belts. But my question is this: Devin Haney wins, but did he actually impress? I'm gonna go ahead and let you have this one first, brother. How did you feel about the performance by Devin Haney in victory? And it was a dominant performance.
So there's going to be two sides here. I'm going to give a side from the general public / casuals, and then I'm going to give a side from the hardcore boxing fans. The general public, the casuals, they're going to say that Devin Haney didn't impress. They want to see a knockout, and you can't fault them for it. Last week, we got Tank in a knockout of the year candidate. This is the guy that's supposed to beat Tank or be in the same class as him, and he doesn't knock out a fighter that Tank already knocked out. That's on the surface level. That's how it looks, and you can't fault a casual fan for feeling that way. However, at the end of the day, Haney has never really been a power puncher. That's just not who he is yet. And he still has time to grow. He still has time to get bigger and develop his man strength. But that just has not been who he's been throughout his career. He's only
21 years old. For people who are asking, he's 21 years old.
He dominated every single second of the fight, for one. He went for the knockout. He was trying to knock out Yuriorkis Gamboa.
Even in the 12th round.
He just couldn't do it. But there's a difference between a fighter that's showing up to fight and a fighter that's showing up for a paycheck. He's just showing up to be there. Gamboa was not showing up. He had no intention of winning that fight. And it's different when you're trying to get off combinations of your own and you get hit by a punch that you didn't see coming versus when you're just standing there ready to take punches. Because you'll be surprised if you're ready to take it, you can take a lot of punches as Gamboa did on Saturday. So for me, I think Haney impressed. He did a great job. Obviously, me included, I would have wanted to see the knockout, but he went for the knockout, and that's the difference there. He showed that he didn't belong. He didn't belong in the ring with him. He didn't put on like a boo-boo performance when he's going to be content with the decision. He did go for the knockout. He dominated every single second of the fight, and from my perspective, he did impress.
Well, you know what's funny? I'm glad you say that, and because here's the thing, It's interesting because, and again, I think we feel very similar, right? I'm going to say this, but I think it is twofold. In terms of, if we look at, honestly, what actually happened, if we're looking at, for instance, what the expectation was, he did not live up to expectations. We were expecting him to go out there and knock Gamboa out, right? That is what people wanted, and you want to make sure he's going out there and he's keeping pace with the pay-per-view guys, right? That's what we want to say. But you're right. He was trying to go for the finish. I went back and I watched the fight a couple times this weekend. He's slick. He looks good. He's calculated. And Gamboa was holding even had a point in the 10th round, had a point taken away for holding. Every time he got rocked, he just held on for dear life to the point that Devin Haney is ripping body shots. Now, let's talk about the knockouts and things that people were talking about, what he didn't do and things like that. And this is what I will say about Devin Haney. I would have absolutely liked to see him get out of there. You're not going to knock everybody out. I understand that. But Devin Haney, one of the best things that Teofimo Lopez said is this. He's always said this. He said something along the lines of, everybody want to be Money Mayweather, but you got to be Pretty Boy first, right? Devin Haney fights like a seasoned Money Mayweather.
He looks like Mayweather. I want to say
he
looks
does
so much like
he
Mayweather.
looks just like Mayweather, man. But he's like the seasoned vet Mayweather, not pretty boy.
Not pretty boy.
Not pretty boy. He skipped that part. He's like, damn that, I'm getting this win, these W's over here, right? So in terms of, the more I watch this fight, he is a far more skilled boxer than Tank Davis. I'll say that. He is technically more skilled. I'll say that. Well, Gamboa isn't. Go ahead. I'm rambling on this one. Go ahead.
Well, so I think it's a difficult point to make that he's more skilled because, as we know, styles make fights. The question that I wanted to ask you was that, okay, he could not get him out of there. He did try to get him out of there.
Though, I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead. He did try to get him out of there.
He did. Yep.
Is this just who Devin Haney is, or should we expect that power to develop as he continues to get older and bigger in size, as we expect? Because we certainly expect Devin Haney to be at 147 one day.
I think when it's all said and done. Okay, so let me start with this. These Terrence Crawford and Gervonta Davis were able to get Gamboa out of there because if we forget, Gamboa used to be an aggressive fighter. Gamboa's style was explosive, and I'm trying to knock your head off. That's what Gamboa took chances. That's why Gamboa, over his last 6 fights, has been knocked down 14 times. His last fight against Tank Davis, he tore his Achilles. His mobility is gone. And the fact that mobility and that he's not taking those same chances, and that's why he didn't get hit with those shots. Otherwise, I thoroughly believe that Devin Haney would have probably gotten him out of there. But to answer your question, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, to answer your question, no, I think that he's only 21 years old. If you look at the way he's built, he still is built like a boy. You know what I'm saying? Like Gamboa, even though he's a 38, you can tell they're same weight class, but that's a grown man. If you look at for instance, Teofimo Lopez, even he's 25, 26 years old. He's built like a grown man. Devin Haney is still built kind of like a boy. You know, he still has like this boy body, and he's in shape and everything, but he just doesn't have his grown man strength. I think that is going to come in time. I think he might. I don't know if he's going to end up having like devastating, power or whatever, like an Errol Spence. But I think he might be that scary dude in the weight class who might dominate 147 in the future or 140 in the future because of that. But I think that his power will come.
I think Errol Spence is a good comparison. Errol Spence has power that's going to wear you down over the course of the fight, but he doesn't have that one punch strength. And at this point with Devin Haney, I think that's probably the high end of what we could expect from him. Now, do you know how, for the casual listeners here, do you know how you can tell that he still has the body of a boy? Just look at his head.
Look at his head.
Look at his head. It's huge. It's huge. And his body will catch up to that one of these days.
Yeah. And the thing is, he's going to end up, remember, he's 21 years old. Dog. I am walking around and I'm about 190 right now. At 21 years old, I was walking around at like $150, like 47, $150, soaking wet. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's going to get bigger. He's going to fill in. And when he does, everybody who's talking trash now, I mean, dude, we're going to have they might have to eat their words in the future.
I'd be interesting. I mean, he definitely has a super high boxing IQ, but I don't think he's really been in there with someone that he can demonstrate it against.
Let me ask you this then. Let's go into this. Let's move on a little bit because we have these up and coming guys. We're kind of already talking about the weight class a little bit. We talked about it. Teofimo, Devin Haney, Tank Davis, Shakur Stevenson, Ryan Garcia, the 5 Horsemen. Who is the best of the new stars in boxing? I would like you to personally rank them 1 to 5.
Yeah. Okay. So here's where I'm going to go. And I'm going to start with 5 and I'm going to go all the way to 1. Yes. At number 5, I'm going to give it to Ryan Garcia. Number 4, Devin Haney.
Yep.
Number 3, Gervonta Tank Davis.
Yep.
Number 2, Shakur Stevenson. And number 1, Teofimo Lopez. I'm guessing we have the same list at this point.
Did you listen to the Fight Podcast earlier this morning, man? You must have been a couple of the people watching because that is the exact same lineup I have.
Well,
explain to me why you have that one, and I'll explain why. Go ahead.
Two combat sports minds probably thinking about it pretty similarly. So number one, you have Teofimo. You can't really not put Teofimo at number one.
You have
He's the undisputed champ, and he knocked off Lomachenko. Like you can't really argue with that. Those are definitive. They are not potential. This is what the fuck has happened. Teofimo gets that number one spot. Now, oftentimes, Shakur Stevenson isn't mentioned with this group of guys. Fine. However, don't forget, he was a title holder at 126, and he has that win over Joet Gonzalez. When you look at the combined records of all the guys that we're talking about, that is probably the second best win.
And he probably has the best amateur pedigree also.
Correct, but that's the second best win outside of Lomachenko, and he's was an established champion at 126 that has now moved up to 130. So cool. That's why I'm putting him at number 2. Tank number 3 because of the remaining 3, Tank, Haney, and Garcia. Tank has the third best win against Leo Santa Cruz. He's also a multi-time champ, whatever with this weight stuff. But he has shown up and he has impressed. So you have to give him that number 3 spot. Number 4 and number 5, the remaining guys just shown a lot of talent, but aren't really proven yet. And just because Haney has a belt, Garcia hasn't had a belt before, and he has the win over Gamboa. That just gives him the nod over Garcia. This list can change dramatically in a few weeks if Garcia puts on an amazing performance against Luke Campbell. But just because of it being at the bottom of the list, being at the top of the list doesn't really mean too much right now because these guys really haven't fought each other. They haven't fought a lot of competition. They haven't started to separate themselves. So this list can shift around pretty quickly. But that's how I see it as of today.
Yeah. I agree with you. I agree with you. I said it earlier on the morning coffee and fight news. Guys, check that out. That's every Monday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. It's morning coffee and fight news with your boy Serg Vicente, man. But I was breaking down the fights, man, and honestly, that's the best way I could explain it. Also, I mean, if you look at it, Teofimo has the best win. It is what it is. That is by far the best win, beating Loma the way he did, the manner that he did, beating him in general, but just getting that W. So you give it to him. Also, I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. The win that he got before that, who he knocked out in the second round.
Not Richard. Hitchens.
Comey. Him knocking out Comey. Those two wins there are bigger than any win any of the other guys have right there. You know what I'm saying? Those are great wins. After that, I do have Shakur Stevenson because a couple things. The eyeball test is the first thing. That kid is good. And he also, and this does carry weight to me. The fact that he has the hat nod, the fact that he has the blessing of Andre Ward and Terrence Crawford, to me, that gives him another something to me. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just being silly, but I give that to him also. His amateur pedigree, the win that you were also discussing, but that is why he has my number 2 spot. Number 3, exact same reasons, Tank Davis, because of the manner that he finished his opponent. I think extremely highly of Leo Santa Cruz, and Leo Santa Cruz is still closer to his prime than a Gamboa. Then have to put Devin Haney, and then after Devin Haney, obviously you put Ryan Garcia. But if Ryan Garcia goes out there and stops Luke Campbell in the next couple of weeks, which honestly, I can't lie, I'm kind of leaning towards him winning that fight, he moves up. Now, I just say him and Haney probably just switch, but he moves up. It depends on how it happens. It depends because honestly, he probably passes up Tank. If he goes out there and gets a dominant knockout,
through him,
if he blows him out, he jumps Tank. If he blows him out the water, he jumps Tank. Now let me ask you this before we move on to the next one. Who of these guys you actually see competing against each other first?
So Oscar De La Hoya has come out. He's trying to really push a fight between Teofimo Lopez and Ryan Garcia. That's something that we can look out for. I think that it's interesting. Even with Tank down at 130, no one says Shakur Stevenson's name.
Nobody says his name.
They'll mention Gary Russell. They mention some of these other guys. Shakur Stevenson is right there, promoted by ESPN. He has his manager is Andre Ward. No one mentions his name. So I'm not sure if or when he's going to get into it with any of these guys. But I think maybe Teofimo and Ryan Garcia. It seems like Teofimo is the most willing to fight, but I'm just not sure how long, if any longer, he'll be at 135. And I think a lot of these fights will actually take place at higher weight divisions. I think all of the guys on this list will go up at least to 140.
I think they'll all fight at 147.
So I just can't. Guys like Tank and Tiafimo. Guys like Tank and Tiafimo, the way they're built, I'm not sure if they're built as well for 147, especially their arms and their height. They're just not as long. Haney's long. Well, Haney and Garcia, both of those guys,
the two of them
get to 147.
Yeah,
but the other guys, maybe they stop at 140. What?
Not Haney. Garcia lighting the ass. He got like no legs. For athletes, it's just like the other guys are built like they look like they squat a little bit. He has like twig legs, so. I wonder if he's going to. I mean, granted,
he's 5'10". That's tall for
the weight class. That's big for the weight class.
That's a good height for 147 even.
Shit, so that's a 5'10". That's a good height for 54.
So I mean, he's not going to have legs because I mean, where is he going to hold it all? Legs are your biggest muscles. He can't pack too much there. I
mean, well, I hear you. I know I'm thinking about it from a MMA standpoint, like cutting weight and shit. But he's just. So I was watching Ryan Garcia recently, and I was looking at how he generates his power. He generates a lot of his power off of it's his quickness. It's his quickness. It's not that he's driving through people. You know what I'm saying? When you're looking at for instance, when you look at Tank Davis knock people out, that's he's knocking you out. He's throwing that from his toes. You know what I mean? Garcia is getting you with arm punches. Even if you're looking at watching him hit the bag, that's all arm punches. So I'm curious to see when he gets bigger. Because here's the thing. The bigger guys are going to eat that. That's my thing. I'm looking at it, and it's just arm punches don't only last so long. In the higher level guys, you're not going to knock them out with arm punches.
Yeah, he likely won't knock them out with arm punches. But, I mean, I don't think he's saying that he's going to go up there and knock everybody out in the first round. And we really don't know what a transformed Ryan Garcia with Eddie Reynoso looks like over the course of the fight, because he got with Eddie Reynoso and started getting first round knockouts. And
I like him with Eddie Reynoso, too. I do. I think that is the best move for his career. Absolutely. Okay, well, check this out. Speaking of Eddie Reynoso went out there and made some news this past weekend. He went out there and pretty much said, and I'm going to throw this to you, Canelo Alvarez is a free agent. He is done with DAZN. He is done with Golden Boy. He's out there for the reckoning. He can do whatever the hell he wants. Now, I'm going to ask you this, because I do have my opinions on this. Do you think he should go out there, get his cash record on, stay independent? Or should he go ahead and sign with one of the big organizations? Me personally, I think he needs to promote himself. He needs to go out there and get these one-fight deals. He's rich as it is. Go out there, get the top dollar with whatever organization, and you're pretty much making whatever you want to do. I think he needs to control his own ship. I think he and Eddie can do that, get a stable of fighters up under that, and make shit happen. That is what I believe Canelo should do. But I am happy for Canelo. I'm happy that he's away from De La Hoya and all the other nonsense that he has had. I think for him, we're going to look at this in the long run. It's going to be pretty much like Floyd when he left Bob Arum. This is a great thing for Canelo. I'm happy for Canelo and his team. And I think I'll be happy for Ryan Garcia soon, because I absolutely see him following suit very soon.
So let me ask you this. With the path that he chose. So obviously he took DAZN and Golden Boy to court to argue over that contract he had, which was 11 fights for $365 million. The benefit of that contract was that as soon as Canelo walks the ring, he could be fighting me, and he has a guaranteed $35 million on the table. Do you think he lost out on any money by walking away from that contract? Because that's the risk he took.
I don't. Because at the end of the day, Canelo is still the biggest draw in boxing. He's going to go ahead, and anybody who he fights, he's going to be able to fight the people that he actually wants to fight. And he's going to be able to dictate, and we'll actually see how fucking gangster Canelo actually is. You know what I'm saying? Because we're going to see if he really wants it. Now there's no excuses, baby. There ain't nobody telling you to go fight Khabib Nurmagomedov. Ain't nobody telling you to fight Jorge Masvidal. You gonna go out there, let's see you fight, Charlo. Let's see you fight. And one thing that they're saying, which impressed the hell out of me, says is they're thinking about trying to fight old Sweet Hands himself, Caleb Plant. And I'll be honest with you, that's a tough one for Canelo stylistically. That is a tough fight for Canelo.
I'm kind of confused on how this all happened over the summer when they were still trying to make that fight with his own. They're talking about fighting Anvi Yildirim, who has already been knocked out by Chris Eubanks. He's just not an impressive fighter. Nobody that you want to see in the ring with Canelo at all. Everybody was disappointed. DAZN was disappointed, understandably so. Now he gets out of his contract, and maybe he's just maybe he needs to prove himself. Maybe he needs to say, hey, I need to do a pay-per-view fight because I haven't done a pay-per-view fight in a while. Show that I'm still the pay-per-view star. I'm not sure, because going from that to that, that's dramatic. I may even pick against Canelo for that fight. So I mean,
picking against Canelo. But if he fights Caleb Plant, he's taking that young L.
One thing we can say is that we love to see it. We would love to see this fight if it gets made. Canelo going independent is a good thing for boxing, and that's a ballsy move to decide that, hey, I'm going to better myself. I'm going to walk away from this guaranteed money and this fucked up situation. I will do anything to get me away from Oscar De La Hoya. And now him and Eddie Reynoso can take control of his own career.
Absolutely. Yes.
My mom always told me, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, but you also have 2 eyes for a reason. You need to look, you need to pay attention. And one thing that I saw is where the message came from. It came from Eddie Reynoso. Eddie Reynoso is his trainer, but maybe looking across the manager category, since Canelo doesn't have a manager. He's his acting manager. Yes. Okay.
And and even in that message, he writes it as, and it says he manages Canelo, and not only does he manage Canelo now, he's also the co-manager of Ryan Garcia.
That's odd. That's just an awkward relationship.
But so that what that tells me though. That's why I was like, Ryan's next.
Canelo had good reason. DAZN was trying to pay him just way less than the contract than they were contractually obligated to pay him.
Force him to fight bullshit.
Ryan Garcia doesn't have that same leverage. That's an issue.
He doesn't at this point in time. He doesn't have.
You gotta find it.
Yo, Joe, I thought somebody was like running up behind me, bro. All of a sudden I hear like I realized the window behind me is cracked, so somebody started talking on the outside. Man, it sounded like somebody was walking in behind me. Man, I'm on the 3rd floor. This still freaked me out.
I would let you know. Bro.
I appreciate it. I do. It'd be a bad day for anybody coming in here. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm just saying.
Don't run up in Sergio's crib.
Do not run up in Sergio's crib. That is not the way to go. But look, man, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I'm happy for Canelo Alvarez. I think that this is a move that was bound to happen. But here's the question, right?
Well, I want to know.
No, you might be asking the same question. Go ahead.
Okay. Do you think the fight gets made? Because at this point in time, the fight between himself and Caleb Plant, targeted for December 19th, is not official yet. That's just such a big ass fight and such a quick ass turnaround. We're talking about the biggest stars.
Caleb's been in the gym, bro.
Fights get announced 4 to 5 months out, and so has Canelo. It makes sense. They're both in shape. I think they can both make weight. But I mean, it's just a quick turnaround for a fight of this magnitude. I've never ever seen a fight this big get made this quickly. Do you think it happens?
Man, I do think it happens. Because here's the thing, it's been over a year since we've seen Canelo compete. In the last, you know what I'm saying? So again, these are 2 guys that are 2 of the best in the sport. We have the IBF champion at 54, man. We have obviously Canelo, the biggest name in the sport. This is a pound for pound type of fight. If Caleb Plant is able to go out here and actually get a W, this is huge for his. I mean, this is a great fight. Stylistically, this is a great fight. Storylines, this is a great fight. I love this fight, and I absolutely see this fight happening.
It's like the Billy Joe Saunders fight on steroids.
Yes. Yeah, dude. Again, that fight didn't happen so that we could have this one. Oh, my God. Because you talk about a guy who's, Caleb Plant is going to go out there. He is not going to go out there to be an opponent. Caleb Plant believes he's the best in the world. And he's going to go out there to try to prove that. And honestly, as slick as he is going to pose all kinds of problems for Canelo. Because we've seen how Canelo responds to fighters that are extremely slick. Floyd Mayweather, Erislandy Lara, Trout also. These are fighters that those slick athletic guys like that, Canelo has always had troubles with. I'm telling you, if you don't believe me, go look at the film yourself.
And Caleb Plant is a name. He is a legitimate draw on his own.
Yes.
And any type of good performance here from Caleb Plant, even in a loss, he never goes back to regular TV again. Like I mentioned Caleb Plant's name to a young lady who's a friend of mine, doesn't really know much about combat sports.
Right.
And she's like, oh yeah, I know him and his wife from Pinterest. Like he's a name.
See, he's a name.
Him.
Yep. Hey, look, and here's the thing too, because people do know his wife. They know his wife. His wife, she's out there doing stuff in terms of sports media and things like that. So she's a face. She is a name. They're an attractive couple together. So girls are going to know who they are. You know what I'm saying? Like, fam, Caleb Plant is a problem. And if they think they're going to go out there and just think like, dog, it is what it is. Like he's just going to get this W and it's going to be whatever. People are mistaken. I obviously we got to see it if it gets announced and everything else. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna tell you right now. Hot take of the day. Maybe it ain't a hot take. I'm definitely picking Plant in that fight.
And that honestly, that's not really a hot take, and it's just that's just the magnitude of the fight. That's how big Caleb Plant is. That's how respected he is in the sport. That's not really a hot take to say that he could beat Canelo.
For casuals, it would be because I'm sure casual, but no, Plant is a name, man. I love it. I think he's the man, dude. All right. Anything else you would like to say in terms of boxing, man? Because I gotta ask you some questions, bro. I gotta ask you about some MMA, man.
No, I am all set on boxing. What is this?
Oh, you know what? Actually, we gotta say. I'm sorry, you gotta talk about Crawford. My bad. All right. This
what happens when you don't fight big fights.
You know what I'm saying? That is it. That's fucked up. See how fucked up that is?
That was some real shade.
That's some real petty shit. That's some real petty shit. But look, man, it is okay. So look, Terrence Crawford needs to start fighting people more regularly. This is one of the biggest names that he's going to fight this weekend. Terrence Crawford goes out there and will be fighting former 447-pound champion Kell Brook. Kell Brook used to be a bad dude. He is on a 3-fight winning streak and has honestly looked very good. This should be an entertaining fight. This is probably the best step up in competition. And it's crazy to say this. This is probably the best opponent that Terrence Crawford has ever been in the ring with. I'm going to say it one more time for the people in the very back. This legitimately might be the best fight that Terrence Crawford has ever, the opponent, should I say, that Terrence Crawford has ever been in there with. That is my issue with Terrence Crawford, okay? He needs to obviously get out of that contract that he has with Top Rank, but regardless, I'm looking forward to this fight. I think this will be a tough fight, and I think that this is going to be a fight that is going to tell us a lot about who Terrence Crawford currently is and who he can be in the very near future. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
I think it's a really it's a lose-lose situation for Terrence Crawford because we really don't, because too impressive of a win against Kell Brook. We're gonna say he's washed. Yep. Too competitive a fight against Kell Brook. We're going to say Kell Brook shouldn't have been able to push him to the limit because he's washed. So I think it's a lose-lose for Terrence Crawford. He had to take what was available to him, and I guess this was the best that he could do. However, this reminds me a lot of the matchup we just saw with Devin Haney and Yuriorkis Gamboa. You have a guy like Devin Haney picking over Tank's leftovers. Here, you have Terrence Crawford picking over Errol Spence's leftovers. And I just don't... It's not a fight that I'm excited for, but guys like us, we don't miss Terrence Crawford. We're not in the business of that. And so we're definitely going to be we're going to be tuned in. We're going to watch the fight. We expect to see, more than likely, an impressive Terrence Crawford knockout. I'd rather him see it get it done. I think it's way more impressive if he gets it done in the first 5 rounds. But I mean,
if he does not, look, ESPN, Terrence Crawford cannot be your pound for pound number one. He cannot be rated higher than Errol Spence anymore after this weekend if he does not go out there and KO this dude within 5 rounds. He can't.
It's really difficult. We just don't know what's left of Kell Brook at this point in his career. We just don't.
And if Kell Brook goes out there, and I'll be honest with you, and makes a fight of it, dog, like, I'm a fan of Terrence Crawford. And I honestly, we were talking about Devin Haney a little earlier, I think Devin Haney needs to fight more like Terrence Crawford than a polished Floyd Mayweather. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think if he fought in that manner, he would be far more entertaining, and I think people would really, really love, especially because how technical he is. We would look at him like Terrence Crawford if he fought in that manner and not Floyd. But I digress. Look,
I'll say this: until one of those guys that you're referencing loses, they're like houses in a block. As long as the price of one house keeps going up, all of them are going to rise until one of them loses. So He doesn't have to worry too much about his style at this point. At
this moment, you're right. All right. But yeah, it is what it is. It's a lose-lose. I think we both agree. Anything else you want to say about that fight?
Yeah, I mean,
you're hitting your stand or something. I keep hitting you're like bumping something.
I don't know.
It's all good. Yeah, it's like you're moving. It was just like you're hitting the table, and I could hear it like bumping. But it's all good. Anything else you need to say about that though? We're good.
No, watch the fight. I think it's on ESPN regular TV.
It'd be regular ESPN. Yeah, it'd be good. I can't wait. I'll be watching it.
You'll probably get a knockout. Exciting. Probably.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun, and he truly is. We're talking shit, but truly one of the best in the game. Truly one of the best to watch. I mean, I would say he's the best switch hitter in the game. He literally fights just as well with his left hand lead as he does conventional. He's just that good. All right. All right, brother. I'm going to ask you about this because there's been a lot of talk recently, and you and I haven't been able to discuss this. A lot of talk about GOATs in MMA, and I want to get your thought process, especially after Khabib won. How do you feel about Jon Jones going out there, staking his claim as the GOAT and not giving Khabib his moment in the sun? How do you feel about that?
We spoke about it last time we were on here. I'm not necessarily a fan of the way Jon Jones acts and conducts himself outside of the ring. I think it was in bad taste, and I think it was Jorge Masvidal posted something today, and it says it was a sign he saw. It said something along the lines of like, don't engage in conversations with people who aren't mature enough to explore like the points of views of others. And I think that's what Jon Jones is experiencing. He really hasn't taken the time to explore the points of views of others, which is fine. He's a fighter and he's supposed to do that. But I mean, given the fact that he's pissed hot and he hasn't gotten a knockout, he hasn't been super impressive in his last few fights. And he really hasn't admitted that, which has been odd because that shows me that he finds those types of performances acceptable. Those are all performances where he could have lost his, taken a loss, lost his belt. So, I mean, I think Jon Jones is in bad taste to do that. And I do think, I mean, for right now, you got to consider a guy like Khabib the GOAT, especially with the fact that Jon Jones is pissed hot multiple times. That you can't not take that into consideration. Once, maybe, but multiple times? Come on. And Khabib has been extremely, extremely dominant through every single fight, has not lost a round. And that's blemish. And that's something you just don't see in mixed martial arts. So I'm a bit of a casual, so forgive me if I'm a prisoner of the moment, but I'm definitely going to give it to Khabib over Jon Jones right now because Jon Jones just hasn't looked. We haven't seen that amazing Jon Jones in a while, and he hasn't done anything positive for himself and how he messes with the media.
Truly, man. Well, all right, man. We'll check it out. I know that because I'm not going to keep the MMA on you like that. Any other fights that you are looking forward to or that you've seen recently?
MMA wise, is Izzy and Jan Blachowicz, is that his name?
Yeah. But we don't know that's happening because of the great performance that happened with Glover Teixeira this weekend. So that fight is up in the air at this moment in time. So we'll see. That's pending, but we believe it's still going to happen.
Yeah, some big fights have been taken off the table recently. Early December, Oscar Valdez and Miguel Berchelt, maybe. I think it was Oscar Valdez and Miguel Berchelt were supposed to go at it. That was a huge fight. One of the boys tested positive for COVID. That fight has now been moved. Dillian White and Alexander Povetkin scheduled for later this month. Alexander Povetkin tested positive for COVID. That fight has now been moved. Granted, those were fights that we were excited for, that we wanted to see, but we're still preserving the big events: the Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia, the Ryan Garcia versus Luke Campbell, the Anthony Joshua versus whatever his name is. I'm drawing a blank right. Yeah, Anthony Joshua versus Pulev. Tyson Fury is allegedly supposed to be fighting on December 5th. So those guys are still in action. It's going to be an exciting end to the year in terms of boxing and just combat sports overall. So yeah, bro, I gotta see it.
There it is, man. Well, brother, as always, I appreciate you, man. Let the people know where they can find you.
Oh, yeah. You can find me on Instagram at bcam13. That is bcam with 2 M's. And on Twitter, talking shit at bcamthinks with 1 M.
There it is, man. bcam, brother, as always, I appreciate you joining me on the show. Dude, we'll chop it up next time, man.
Yes, sir, my guy. Appreciate it.
As always, man. Peace out.
Be good.
Yep. All right, man. That was the man, the myth, the legend, Camm, man. Well, look, as always, I appreciate you guys for joining me on the greatest combat sports and culture show in the entire universe, the Fight Podcast. Check us out everywhere podcasting is available: Google Play, Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher. Also, check out the website, thefightpodcast.com. Check out our amazing sponsors, Everlast, Nug Club Official, as well as CBD Pure. Check all out on the website. Everything's right there, so you guys can check out. And check us out also on, I keep saying check us out. See us on all social media platforms at The Fight Podcast. This is your boy, Serg Vicente. I'll see you guys next time right here on The Fight Podcast. Peace out. Go Biden.